We live in a culture addicted to doing, always acting, striving, pushing to make things happen. But what if everything you've been told about manifestation is backwards? What if the very act of chasing your desires is what keeps them just out of reach? In the realm of quantum manifestation, this approach doesn't just fall short, it repels. Reality in the quantum field isn't linear. It doesn't respond to urgency or effort, it responds to coherence. And coherence begins the moment your internal state aligns with the reality you say you want. Most people try to attract abundance while resonating with lack. They visualize love while radiating loneliness. They affirm freedom while embodying fear. That energetic contradiction is what the field responds to, not your words, not your vision board, not your rituals. Here's the secret most never hear. Manifestation doesn't happen because you ask. It happens because you become. In quantum terms, the field, a matrix of infinite potential, doesn't move through effort, it responds through resonance. Your task isn't to push or to force, it's to tune, to stop chasing and start embodying. This is where many get stuck. They hear phrases like, feel as if it's already done, or vibrate at the frequency of having, but it feels false, out of reach. That's because they haven't yet grasped the paradox. The state of allowing is what in quantum mechanics, the observer effect shows that observation changes reality, but only when it's infused with expectancy, not desperation. When you look at your life through the lens of trust and knowing, the wave collapses into form. But when you observe through fear or urgency, it stays potential, forever possible, never real. Pause and reflect. This isn't about blame, it's about awareness. Your energy is in constant dialogue with the universe. Imagine tuning a radio. If you're trying to hear 98.7 FM, but your dial is set to 88.1, no amount of wanting will bring the music through. You have to tune yourself first. That's the essence of quantum manifestation. Not asking the universe to deliver, but aligning with the frequency where your desired reality already exists. This is where ancient wisdom meets modern science. Neville Goddard spoke of living from the end, embodying the emotional signature of your desired state. Joe Dispenza teaches that the brain and heart must be coherent, broadcasting a unified message to the quantum field. Abraham Hicks calls it entering the vortex, that emotional sweet spot where resistance dissolves and receiving begins. And yet simplicity terrifies the ego. We've been conditioned to believe that value must come from struggle, that transformation demands pain, and that progress requires endless hustle. But in the quantum world, it's the opposite. The more you chase, the more you affirm the absence. The more you try to force, the more you amplify resistance. That's why this video is titled Quantum Manifestation is Simple, and that's also why nobody gets it. Because simplicity isn't sexy, it's not marketable, it's not dramatic, but it is where the shift begins. In the next sections, we'll go deeper. We'll explore how to rewire your vibrational signature, how the field mirrors your internal state, and how to finally live as the version of you who doesn't chase, but attracts. But first, sit with this. The version of your life you desire already exists. In quantum theory, all possible outcomes already coexist. Your only job is to collapse into that reality, not by force, but by frequency. So pause the chase and instead start becoming, not tomorrow, not when the money comes, not when the partner arrives. Right now, that's when the field begins to respond. If your external reality is a reflection, then what exactly is it reflecting? Most people approach manifestation with a to-do list. Visualize daily, repeat affirmations, write it down 10 times, and while these practices can be helpful, they often become mechanical, surface-level attempts to change the mirror without changing the face it reflects. The truth is, the quantum field doesn't respond to what you say, it responds to who you are being. And being is not performance, It's not pretending to feel abundant while panicking about rent. It's not saying you trust the universe while secretly obsessing over timelines. Being is alignment, a vibrational congruence between your inner world and the version of reality you want to experience. Joe Dispenza explains it like this: your thoughts are electric and your emotions are magnetic. Together, they create an electromagnetic signature that broadcasts your state of being into the quantum field. That field, which holds every potential reality, begins to reorganize itself based on the signal you're sending. Not what you want, but what you are. Let's break that down. Suppose you desire a life of financial freedom. If you're constantly feeling anxious, checking your bank account, and imagining worst-case scenarios, your electromagnetic signature is one of scarcity. And scarcity doesn't attract wealth. It magnetizes. You said, you become the gravity that pulls it in. Now that we understand the quantum field doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you are, the next step is to ask, how do you collapse the possibility into form? Quantum physics reveals that all potential realities exist in a state of superposition. Your dream job, your ideal relationship, your financial breakthrough. These aren't distant hopes. They're present potentials waiting to be chosen. But they don't become real simply because you think about them. They become real when your observation, your focused awareness causes the wave to collapse. But not just any observation. This isn't a passive glance. The quantum field responds to emotionally charged focus, to observation infused with belief, trust, embodiment, and energetic alignment. When you feel your future as if it's already real, you begin to imprint that version into the unified field. You don't chase it, you stabilize it. And in doing so, the universe responds. Joe Dispenza explains that this process requires coherence, a synchronization between the brain and the heart. Most people live in mental chaos and emotional incoherence. Their thoughts want one thing, but their emotions communicate lack. Their actions are scattered, motivated by fear or doubt. And in that state, the field can't find a clear frequency to reflect. When your brain and heart enter coherence, your signal becomes stronger. You're no longer sending mixed messages. You're broadcasting a unified frequency of trust, gratitude and certainty, the signature of someone who already is what they once hoped to become. Let's look at this from the perspective of neurobiology. When you feel an emotion, your body releases chemicals that correspond to that feeling. Gratitude produces dopamine and oxytocin. Trust produces serotonin. These chemicals don't just make you feel good. They shift your entire physiological state, and your state becomes your point of attraction. If you can generate these emotions without needing external confirmation, you reclaim your creative power. You're no longer reacting to life. You're informing it. And this is how reality begins to shift. Neville Goddard used to say that your assumptions hardened into fact. What he meant was this: your consistent emotional assumptions create a gravitational pull that restructures your world. The outer becomes a mirror of the inner. And this isn't philosophy, it's physics, backed by what we now know about the observer effect, entanglement, and coherence. The observer effect teaches us that what you focus on expands, and more than that, it transforms. You're not just watching a future unfold, you're shaping it moment by moment with every thought, emotion, and choice. So how do you maintain that? How do you live as if your desired reality is already here? This is where most people falter. They touch the frequency briefly in meditation or journaling, but then slip back into worrying, doubting, scrolling, and reinforcing their current identity. That's like planting a seed and digging it up every day to check if it's growing. Manifestation requires energetic consistency. That doesn't mean perfection. It means returning again and again to the version of you who already has it. Not just in thought, but in feeling. Not just in words, but in behavior. Even in subtle ways. Walk as if, breathe as if, make decisions as if. Because every small alignment compounds. Every moment you choose coherence over fear, presence over distraction, You're reinforcing the quantum imprint of your new reality. Here's where it gets exciting. Once you stabilize that vibration, reality begins to respond with what many call synchronicity, unexpected opportunities, intuitive nudges, sudden clarity, people showing up at the perfect time. And it's not magic, it's the field reorganizing itself around your signal. You'll know you're close to collapse when you begin to feel it in your bones. Not as excitement or impatience, but as certainty, a quiet knowing, a deep sense of inevitability. That's when you stop asking, "Where is it?" and start feeling, "It's already mine." At this point, you've moved from wishful thinking to energetic authorship. You've crossed the bridge between possibility and embodiment. And from here, something begins to shift, not only in your outer world, but in your perception of it. You stop needing validation because your frequency becomes its own evidence. You've collapsed the wave, and the life you once visualized is now visualizing you back. Once you begin to live from the end, not toward it, everything starts to change. But let's be honest, this is where most people get stuck. Not because they don't believe, but because they don't know how to become what they desire. They try to think their way into a new life without feeling it. They hope for change while embodying the same patterns, and the field doesn't respond to hope. It responds to energetic certainty. Quantum manifestation isn't about thinking positively until something magically appears. It's about becoming a match to the timeline you're trying to access. That timeline, that version of you already exists. You're not building it from scratch. You're selecting it by aligning your energy with the frequency it broadcasts. How do you know you're aligning? You stop obsessing over the how. You stop chasing validation, signs, or guarantee. You become less reactive to the outer world and more attuned to your inner calibration. Abraham Hicks often says, "You can't get there from there," meaning you cannot manifest the version of you who is free, at peace, and fulfilled from a place of urgency, frustration, or lack. You have to start acting, choosing, and especially feeling as if you're already there. That's when something mysterious begins to happen. You start attracting different thoughts, not the ones you try to think, but the ones that belong to that version of you. Your intuition sharpens. You sense new paths opening. The synchronicities become bolder. Reality becomes more fluid. Time bends in strange ways. It's as if life is accelerating to meet you. Joe Dispenza explains that when you enter a high-frequency emotional state, gratitude, love, awe, your brain and heart enter gamma coherence. In this state, your nervous system becomes more receptive to new patterns. Your field becomes magnetic, and manifestation becomes natural. Not because you're forcing it, but because you've become the portal through which that reality flows. And this is why we say, stop chasing, start attracting. It's not about effort, it's about calibration. If you've ever had a moment where things just clicked, where everything aligned without effort, where an opportunity showed up just when you needed it, or when someone said exactly what you were thinking, you've experienced the quantum field responding to your alignment. Now imagine living in that state by choice. That's what we're doing here. And now, let's speak directly to your subconscious, because there's a reason this message is reaching you right now. You've likely felt that your manifestations take too long, that maybe something's blocking them, that perhaps you're doing it wrong. But here's the truth. You've always been closer than you think. The very fact that you're hearing this now is proof that your field is ready to shift. You're not broken. You're not behind. You don't need to chase anything. You need to stabilize the version of you who no longer chases, the one who knows, the one who walks with quiet certainty and grounded magnetism. That version of you already exists. And every moment you choose to remember that, you collapse the distance between now and your desire. So let this be the moment you stop trying and start remembering. Let this be the moment you embody the version of you who lives as if it's already done. Let this be the quantum event where you shift from waiting to become. And now, here's something powerful to anchor this shift. If this message is resonating, if you feel the stirrings of your next level aligning, comment 777 below. Why 777? Because in numerology and spiritual traditions, 777 is considered the number of divine alignment. It's a vibrational code that symbolizes your path is unfolding exactly as it should. When you see 777, it's not just a sign, it's a mirror, a reflection that your internal reality is syncing with your higher potential. A confirmation that your manifestation is not only valid, it's already vibrating in your field. So when you type 777, you're not just engaging, you're activating, you're claiming your coherence. You're becoming a node of resonance for what you're ready to receive. And in doing so, you amplify the frequency, not just for you, but for everyone reading this. That's how the field works. It multiplies what we affirm together. So go ahead, type 777 in the comments. Watch who else does. Watch what happens in your field after this. Consider this your signal to the universe. I no longer chase, I attract, because I already am. If there's one thing the quantum field keeps whispering to those who are willing to listen, it's this: there is nothing to wait for. Every version of your life, every timeline, every possibility, every potential reality already exists. It's not something you create through force. It's something you tune into through alignment. And the shift doesn't require years of effort or complex technique. It begins the moment you stop searching for signs outside and start embodying the signal inside. Think about this. The reality where your manifestations are already real is not somewhere far, it's vibrationally adjacent. You don't need to leap into it, you simply need to stop resonating with the one you want to leave behind. This is what Neville Goddard meant when he said, "Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled." It's not a game of wishful thinking, it's the science and sacredness of self-selection. You're not asking life to become something. You're telling life, this is who I am now. And the field, being fully obedient to coherence, responds accordingly. But there's a catch. You can't fake alignment. You can't pretend to feel abundant while staying anchored in doubt. You can't repeat affirmations from a place of fear. You can't meditate your way into a new life while mentally clinging to the old one. The quantum field isn't moved by performance. It feels the frequency beneath your words. It listens to your vibration, not your voice. And that's exactly where your true power lives. So how do you live from that power? Through coherence. Through the continual choice to return to alignment, not once, not only when it's easy, but as a practice, a devotion, a way of being. You begin to speak differently. You move differently. You treat yourself and others as though you are already the person you've been envisioning. And soon, you won't have to act like that person anymore. You'll simply be them. This is the quantum code behind manifestation, the one few ever talk about. Not because it's hidden, but because it's simple. Too simple for a mind addicted to complexity. Too gentle for a world conditioned to struggle. But simplicity is your secret key. The more you release the need to control or force an outcome, the more reality organizes itself around you. Let yourself trust this. Stop waiting for evidence and become the evidence. Remember, the most powerful manifestations rarely arrive with fireworks. They emerge in quiet moments, felt deeply in the body, a soft exhale, a sudden calm, a knowing that something has shifted. The universe speaks in whispers when it delivers what you've already claimed. So ask yourself, what if the change you've been waiting for is waiting for you to stop waiting? What if your next timeline is already here, watching and waiting for the signal that says, I'm ready? Let's collapse the distance. If this message resonates, share your reflection, intention or affirmation below. Let this space be more than a video. Let it be a frequency portal. Let your words become anchors in the quantum field. And as you scroll through, notice you're not alone. We are a field, a wave, a movement. Your coherence strengthens the collective. If this transmission awakens something in you, consider subscribing, not just for content, but for connection. This space is a sanctuary for those who know the universe is listening, for those ready to become what they've been calling in. You are not learning to be powerful. You already are. You are not discovering how to manifest. You are remembering how reality responds to you. And the moment you stop chasing and start aligning, that's when it becomes effortless. That's when it becomes magical.